I don't want to spend 45 minutes going into each and every single one of those areas. So I would prefer to kind of keep it in a general sense. Mike, do you want to start with this, and I'll kind of highlight a more intellectual point of view once you're done? Yeah.
I like the way you put that, Chris.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's then jump into this month's question of the week. So this one is brought to you from Sarah. And so here we go. So the question we received was, so how often do you guys actually talk to the property owners? Now, this can open us up to a tremendous amount of conversation because we really dive down into the details when we are talking about how we communicate with our property owners. So it's really at what stage of the life cycle are we in? Are we on the front end? Are we in the middle? Are we at the end? So I don't want to spend 45 minutes going into each and every single one of those areas. So I would prefer to kind of keep it in a general sense, but while also communicating the technical and detailed aspects in which we do communicate with our owners. Mike, do you want to start with this, and I'll kind of highlight a more intellectual point of view once you're done?
I like the way you put that, Chris.
Thank you.
I will say, I think this is a good time for a self-promotion plug. We're revamping some of our website. And is the communication one, is that one live yet, or is it about to be live?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I almost forgot. So the communications page is what we are working on right now.
Okay.
So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll have that live. But since you already brought up the pillar pages, listen, you've got to check out our website. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you want to know how we do business, it's all there. Check it out. Video content so that you don't have to read every single word, but there's also words there in case you like to read.
Yeah. So anyway, check out the communication page coming up in a couple days, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say probably about a week or so.
Okay. So like you said, we could spend 45 minutes talking about how we communicate with owners and go into a great level of detail. But I think at a very high level, I think it does make sense to kind of go through the whole life cycle of a tenant, I guess, or of a property. I mean, at the beginning of a property, we're going to onboard it. There's going to be a ton of communication with our owners, right? Because that's when we're getting to know each other. That's when we're getting to know the property. If there's a tenant involved, what's going on there, what's going on with the property. I mean, gosh, I guess I don't know where to stop because we do a market readiness assessment. I mean, do we want to go into that? Do we want to go into the onboarding call? I mean, we do so much. I guess I don't know how to make it not a 45-minute conversation.
Exactly. It's very tough for me to avoid that too. So here we go. I mean, our communication starts on the front end. We're very detail oriented. And if you're not working with a property management company that's not also extremely detail oriented, because it's extremely important in efficient operation, then you should be finding somebody else. But so it's on the front end where we are obtaining the specific information from the owner. So you're going to fill out a very detailed new owner info sheet, provide us all the details of the property. And then, so that's your communication that you're sharing with us. And then it talks about how we communicate with you going forward. And that, like Mike alluded to, it's pretty heavy on the front end to narrow down those details. And that's going to be through email communication, text communication when necessary, which I know I've had a lot of conversations here recently where that's extremely important to owners, which you're hearing a lot more of, actually. Maybe that's Gen Z coming up, but they really are hammering home the necessity for that text communication. But what platforms are you going to have that you're going to be communicated with? This is where I think is really the important part. So the communication platforms, maintenance, where on the front end, when we're completing that market readiness assessment, it's all going to start being shared with you through your property mailed account. And this is your maintenance software that you're going to use. Check us out. Check out our maintenance pillar page on our website where you can see exactly what it's like from the owner perspective on viewing and communicating maintenance approvals and communication. And that will start with our market readiness assessment protocol. And then it goes into other communications, which is going to be your monthly statements, your ability to run a multitude of monthly reports, all at the click of a button through your own owner portal. And this is provided to you through AppFolio. It's an amazing, and you'll be able to see exactly what your owner experience is like on the communications page that we're building right now, which will show you exactly what your owner's portal experience through AppFolio will be like. It's all super transparent. It is before and after photos of maintenance requests. It is transparency when it comes to invoices, but as far as our means of communication, it's really through any and all forms, from text, phone call, and email. Now, I will, again, in pure transparency, I put as much as I possibly can in writing for both not only my benefit, but also the owner's benefit. So I think I try to cover just about everything, how we do it, what the communication platforms and so on. Go ahead.
Maybe a couple things to add to that. One thing I think that's important to highlight is during vacancy. So that's a really important time, a really stressful time for our owners. And so we really try to make sure that the lines of communication are open. And one thing I think that we do that's a little bit different than everyone else is we do a weekly video update to our owners going over the activity of their property. And good, bad, or ugly, we tell them, how many showings we had, how many applications we had, how many, what the feedback was. So, proactive, trying to be proactive, making recommendations, whether that's condition or price or, hey, we got it just right. I think we just need to wait a week. Anyway, the communication is really, really heavy on the initial part as well as during the marketing stage, because it's just so important that we work together kind of as a team, the owner and the property management company, to get this leased up as quickly as possible. And that requires constant communication, constant feedback from us, and feedback from the owners. And so that's one thing I definitely wanted to highlight was the weekly owner updates during the vacancy stage.
Yeah, and as we rattle through this, at least myself, rattle through so many different things in such a short amount of time, it's because I don't want this to be a 45-minute explanation on how we communicate. It may sound a bit overwhelming at first, but it's important to understand what good communication really looks like. And what that looks like is proactive communication rather than reactive communication. And that's exactly where we try to focus from day one. That's the point I was trying to make there, from that initial obtaining the initial property details on the front end and communication through the market readiness assessment. This is all proactive communication, so that we're not reacting once we place that tenant. In the means of communication that we use, it varies, but it all is through a platform that makes it extremely easy for the owner to be notified and respond, so that we can make decisions together to increase your overall ROI.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I think onboarding / vacancy is so important. As you've already mentioned, maintenance is so important. We, like you said, we do use a system called Property Meld. We like it because it allows us to easily communicate with our owners through email, text, also share very, very easily before and after photos, share estimates. And so that's a really great communication tool for us as well, that really opens up the transparency around maintenance, which is so important.
Let me put you on the spot for just three seconds here, and that is, can you think of a way that poor communication from maybe another property manager might affect an owner in any way? I can think of several. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah, you look nervous. Okay, so all right. So one way, is just right away, is actually, this is going to relate to the bonehead that we're going to get into here in just a minute. And that is where you're not effectively communicating a maintenance situation. So, and that means timely response, which everyone knows, or if you're now tuned into the podcast, you certainly know now, is that maintenance responses directly will affect your tenant retention. So it's not getting that timely response. It's not getting that transparent communication, which could potentially include, which very likely includes before photos, so that you can make an effective decision, and then obtaining that estimate within a reasonable amount of time so that you can make that decision quickly. I mean, that's one, by not providing that transparency and not providing that quick communication there from a maintenance request.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a million examples. One would just be not communicating quickly enough. If you got a tenant situation that's maybe escalating, you got to know when to reach out to the owner and let them know when these things are spiraling out of control. I mean, it is our job as property managers to deal with this so that the owners don't have to. But you also need to have the wherewithal to know when to reach out to the owner to say, hey, this is a potential issue that's coming up. And if you don't do that, then potentially you've got somebody who all of a sudden wants to move out, or maybe they've moved out early due to whatever, maybe a maintenance concern or something, some sort of disgruntled tenant. You hit the owner blindside and say, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, your house is vacant. They weren't, brought up to speed the whole time, knowing, hey, we got a situation, we're trying to work through it. So and so. So it's just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is I want to go back to the original question here to wrap this up. And that was, how often do you actually talk to your property owners?
Good point. Let's actually answer the question.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, honestly, if things are going well, I would say with probably 85% of the properties under our management, it doesn't need to be that often. Honestly, it's me reaching out, our general manager reaching out, or even Mike reaching out to check the pulse on how everything's going with the owner. It's like, hey, because everything's going pretty smooth, and that's the result of being proactive. There's not a lot of things happening on the property maintenance wise. It's about completing that inspection, then sharing that inspection, which is completed 3 months into a new lease, and then on an annual basis thereafter. So it's a couple touches, maybe a year, just to check the pulse. And then, of course, it's when those situations arise, then it becomes a lot more active communication. And both sides are good, honestly. You don't want to hear from your property manager sometimes, and then when you need to, you really want to hear from your property manager.
Well, let me just sum it up. So I think as we talk about this, I think I've finally been able to summarize it at a very, very high level. So at the very beginning, during the onboarding process and during the marketing phase, there's going to be lots and lots of communication between us and the owner. Yes. Lots and lots. I mean, there needs to be a ton of communication, right? Then there will be the move-in. There'll be a little bit more communication result around the accounting. So we had somebody move in, we'll do an inspection. So a little bit more communication. Then there's, honestly, assuming there's no maintenance, there's a little bit of a lull. And then we kind of re-engage back at about 3 months. We'll do an inspection. And we will share that with our owners. So that is a shared video. It's a shared inspection. So a little bit of communication there. And then again, assuming no maintenance issues, there is again a little bit of a lull until we start to think about the lease renewal. We're starting to think about the lease renewal about 90 to 100 days ahead of time. And that's where we're going to start to re-engage the owner again, start communicating with them, pull some comps for them, talk about the lease renewal, do another inspection. And then communication kind of spurs up again. And then either there's a move out or the lease renews, and then the cycle continues.
That's a beautiful way to sum it up. Yeah, because ultimately you just answered the question, and I just found ways to talk about our other platforms and stuff there on the front end. So there's a full answer from 0 to 100 for sure. Now, if you're catching this, check out our communications page on our website. Let me know if you feel like it is informative, or if there's other areas where you think, hey, this specific question isn't really answered in your communications page. We're really proud of those pillar pages we're putting up. We really feel like it provides a tremendous amount of transparency on the front end before you even have to pick up the phone and call Red Door and talk to me, although I'm really fun to talk to, so don't hesitate to do that. But yeah, so check out the pillar pages. I would love to hear some feedback on what you think about how those are going up and the information they provide. All right, that's going to wrap up our question of the week for how often do we actually talk to our owners. I hope you found that extremely helpful. And now we're going to dive into the bonehead